I think it's fine when you have only one broadcast coming up, but when you have like 18, there's no real easy way to communicate with everybody and be live at the same time.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely like it's been I have really enjoyed it because it has made me use my brain like all week long. I'm also exhausted, but you
Yeah,
know.
I can imagine. I can imagine being on all this time. It fries your brain after a while.
So if you missed it, I totally like rambled around on TikTok for like 40 minutes, which was fun. That was what I did the last hour. So
I haven't done TikTok yet.
yeah, it's like, oh, like it's really cool. Like there's a whole storytelling component to it that is just like TikToks that are done really well. They're so good. Like the storytelling's there, like everything is just they're on point.
It,
So
it's all music videos, right? People doing skits to music videos or singing along with dancing.
kinda, yeah. So apparently, I don't know the whole history, but I did just pick up a tidbit that it was originally Musically or like something happened. Like if somehow they had like hanging out together. It's like Vines, but with structure.
Oh, cool.
So like you only have like I think it's like 15 seconds. So it takes stories, like Instagram stories and all that, and like it's like stories on steroids.
Hmm.
And then, but like, there are some platforms or some companies that are like, they're just nailing it. And one of the examples that I mentioned in before was the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
So the Washington Post, their TikTok is wicked.
Really?
Oh my gosh. And and the point I made in in that TikTok segment was that I previously to getting on TikTok did not feel like the Washington Post was relevant to me as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
And as a millennial, like I have to like have a connection with you or like feel like, you're real and not like out in the ether somewhere.
Right.
And feel connected to you to like want to buy from you. And I'm now thinking about becoming a Washington Post subscriber
Wow.
because I got to know them on TikTok. I was like, ooh, if this is who works there, like I want to like be a part of it, which I think is the whole point.
This is like the perfect example of why businesses should use social media and do videos when they're targeting millennial customers, because you actually just are like a living, breathing example of somebody who didn't care one bit about the Washington Post. And now the fact that somebody who's print and like online published articles and blogs and all that, and yet they're doing little music video stories or whatever, and that's how you connected with them.
That's how I connected with them was on TikTok. And I found TikTok because someone and let me rephrase. It's not that I didn't know TikTok was there. Like it's something I've thought about doing, but it's like one more shiny thing that I had to figure out. And when you're creating content, which I know you get this, when you're creating content for like two different brands on top of client stuff, on top of all of these other things, the last thing I want to do is go and figure out a new platform.
Right.
Right? Where I have to create a new version of all of the content, which is just insane. So what happened? Oh, so Twitter, I told the story already, but I was flying through Twitter and 2 or 3 people I follow liked this guy's tweet. And the tweet was of a YouTube video on what is TikTok and why you should be on it. And so I tapped the YouTube button, the YouTube thing or whatever, went to that off of this tweet and watched the YouTube video and downloaded TikTok within 5 minutes of watching. Like, I don't think I had finished watching the YouTube video.
Wow.
And I downloaded TikTok. and it's only been a week and a half. But like, there's just really cool stuff going on over there. There's like these communities that like, there's just a whole like mess of people that weren't necessarily consuming content on Instagram. They weren't consuming content on YouTube. Like there was just that, like, we find these different ways of communicating with people,
mm-hmm.
and everyone likes consuming content differently. And when we have these
I kind of
platforms,
understand it now.
yeah, it's like, oh, like, oh my gosh, I love consuming content this way. And I want to go, does so and so have this and so have this? And yeah, that part has been really cool. So,
Wow. So I tried Snapchat because I have so many friends who are just like, Snapchat, it was everything,
yeah,
back 3-4 years ago or whatever. And I just never took to it.
yeah,
This was not me. And so eventually I just like was okay with that. Okay, I'm not going to do Snapchat. I'm on all these other platforms. And so with TikTok, I went the next step and I don't think I ever actually created an account or anything. I downloaded it for about 5 seconds and then said no. But maybe I should give it another look, because the way you explained it to me, it sounds kind of fun. Like, you don't actually have to sing and dance to a music video. I could show setting up my studio to a music video, or I could do any number of things in 15 seconds, right?
yeah, anything. And there's 15-second ones and then there's 60-second ones. So you could do longer form content of a minute.
Can you do what's that, like time lapse video and make a video with that? It'll
Time
upload that.
lapse, you can like draw out. So it's been this is something else I talked about in the broadcast, but so my kids, like, their form of entertainment is watching TikTok compilation videos on YouTube.
Wow.
And like that's how they're consuming their content. So they're consuming, because they don't have TikTok, they don't have phones, so they don't have their own TikTok accounts. But what they watch are TikToks on YouTube. So they have all these like hand motions and things that are happening. And the older one, she'll be 14 in January. She has friends with phones and TikTok. So like if she's hanging out with her friends, they're making TikToks. And so like when she figured out, she was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like TikTok. Mom, are you on TikTok? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my gosh, let me see your TikTok. And fair warning, like, we're not going to go into the details, but I do not just hand my daughter my phone with my TikTok, because there is a lot of stuff that's just totally not appropriate.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, and they're all labeled. So like the channels say like not for under 18, like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I had no idea there was like, I thought it was just like the most kid-friendly place in the world.
No. I think you're thinking of Musical.ly, and it was, but even Musical.ly, there were parts of Musical.ly that not that it's bad, but like it's not for kids. It's created the creation part. Like I think the way they're communicating the stories and doing the storytelling is really indicative of how the kids now, like how my kids want to consume content. So I think that part of the platform is like for kids, but it's not content for kids.
Right.
So I think that distinction is important. But yeah, so my 14-year-old is like, oh, you're on TikTok. So like we've been like, we have this whole new conversation we can have together now, because she's like, oh, we could do this and we could do this. So we did a TikTok last night that had to do with, we were trying to create one TikTok, and it took a couple of takes. And, that's how like, none of the TikToks happen on accident. Like the story they're telling and the story they're sharing is like, oh, well, this just happened and I happened to catch it on video and blah, 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 blah. Well, no, you did it and it took you like 40 takes. So I looked at my daughter and I said, how many takes do you think it takes to get to the perfect TikTok? And she looked at me, she goes, oh my gosh, that's a sound. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, it is. So then we built this story around how many retakes does it take to get to the perfect TikTok with like, the Tootsie Roll Pop Owl. And so that was the TikTok, and I haven't looked at it yet, but like that one, I think that one might go somewhere, but it's just this, like, it's neat. It's like it's just a different way of framing the content, because then I was looking at my Legacy Recorder brand.
Right.
And I started doing these 5-minute storytelling scripts, and it's all of the content is under a minute, and I'm publishing it on Anchor every day.
Right.
So it's like going out as a podcast. And then I was like, oh, I could be putting this on TikTok. Like, would this look like on TikTok? So now my brain's running in that loop. But anyways, this is a really long conversation about TikTok. But so the gear part, the video I shared, the other thing about TikTok is that it doesn't have to be perfect. So you
Right.
don't need like a ton of gear like to do it, which was true, I think, for YouTube at one point in time, for these other things that we do that are now like, from an audio perspective. We were talking about audio. I think Monique Johnson and I had a conversation on Monday.
Right.
And so we were talking about video and audio, and you were there.
Yes.
You were there. That's how this happened.
That's right.
It's been, I've lived a lifetime since Monday. But that piece on the audio piece of like, if the audio isn't good, but what
Right.
TikTok does is it runs over with the sound. So you don't have to have audio playing. So if you can have like the facial expressions and like, so my kids are like these great, like you can tell what they're feeling from, 10 feet away because their faces are just like, it's really neat watching the acting parts, like things you would reserve for actors.
Right.
They're happening on TikTok, which is cool.
That's so cool.
It's very cool.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun. So let's, oh crap. Okay. Sorry. I had to hang up on someone.
Okay.
Where were we going? Oh, we were talking about gear and live streaming.
We were talking about TikTok. And I was just sharing to my page. So
while I was running on and
while I was listening, I was making sure that I shared to my page and unable to find, sometimes you just can't know what to type in to tag something. I was trying to tag the Entrepreneur Hotline and it just wasn't coming up.
Yeah, I think in Facebook.
Maybe because I'm not following it as a page yet or something. I don't know.
No, we dropped the, so it's Entrepreneur Hotline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go back and get it later.
Don't worry about it. We appreciate it. So because we didn't start this off as like a regular talk.
Right. This is fun. What should we talk about next?
So the daydream about this is that not the daydream, but the where this started out of is that Lori Webb and I met on Blab way back when.
Right.
And this is like, a iteration of a thing that happened on Blab in November 2015 during the same week. Which is how like a bunch of my stuff got kicked off. It's how you and I connected.
Right.
And it's how, I've connected with basically my entire ecosystem. My entire community is because of this one platform, which is no longer there. So no one go bother looking for it. But if you go, you can go on Twitter. If you go #RipBlab or you go #Blab, all the stuff still comes up. So that's fun. You want to go?
Funny. For years after Blab collapsed, occasionally I would put in like #Blab tutorial or something or #Blab, and somebody who decided to automate their Twitter in 2015 or 2016 still had posts coming up like, how to do your first Blab. And I think they've stopped by now, but it was just funny every once in a while to see, like, I wonder if people are still sharing that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, wow.
I'm sure there's still like how to do your first Vine.
Oh, I'm sure they're out there still too. Like, and I think that part's really funny. One of the things I talked about when I was talking about TikTok is that we have the creators that are really doing things on TikTok. I think they've watched so many platforms over the last 10 years come in, collapse,
Right.
that they know it's all rented space, which is what I tell every client is that if you make a Facebook page, that's great. You can still get locked out. If you do YouTube, that's great. You can still get locked out. Like, you need to have your own real estate.
Right.
And so it's been neat watching these TikTokers because they have YouTube and Instagram and it's all connected. So TikTok allows you to connect those platforms really easily, which is neat. But I've just like the tutorials and stuff, and it's all very meta. Like it's one thing I've tried to not do is be meta about what I train in. So like I'll teach people ghostwriting or copywriting or like, and then here's all these platforms and this is how you would apply it here. But I'm not going to stand and say, I'm going to tell you how to write on Facebook.
Right.
Because what if it goes away?
Right.
But anyways, that's a whole other conversation.
Right. So don't tie yourself to any one platform.
Yeah. Yeah, and then which I love that you did. So I know you talk gear. Are you doing
Mhm.
anything else these days? Because I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I'm live streaming. I'm
Live streaming.
podcasting. I'm
Yeah,
smart speakers, all that good stuff.
I like it. And what was the last event you were just at?
I was at Web Summit in Lisbon, Portugal.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I saw
Yeah.
your travel photos.
Yeah, really, it was a really cool experience.
What was I don't want to ask the takeaway question. Everyone asks that.
What was your
Um,
biggest takeaway from the conference? Portugal's beautiful. Lisbon is beautiful. That's a big takeaway. I need to travel more.
Yeah. So what was something you learned that you didn't expect you would learn?
I went to a talk by the man who runs branded content for the New York Times.
Yeah.
And he actually broke down the process of digital storytelling. He's not feeding the news side. He's working with brands who want to create content that looks native to different platforms, but really is all about promoting the brand and how they do that. So how you don't take too heavy a hand in promoting the brand, but the brand's part of the story, maybe the hero, maybe just shows up at the end, whatever.
Yeah.
But he actually tactically went through, like, these are the 5 elements you need. And I would recommend, if anybody wants to watch one speech from it, and I mean, there were so many speeches there and so many different sessions, most of which you just couldn't possibly get to in a 3-day conference with 5 pavilions and a center stage in an arena, and it was massive. But that was the one that I went to more than any other, that I said, here's something that this guy's really giving, like, a game plan that anybody could use in creating content. And that was really valuable. A lot of the, high level talks kind of gave you a sense of what's going on in the industry or maybe where tech's going. But this really was something like any of us could employ tomorrow. And I definitely have a reminder set to go back and watch that and take notes, because it was so full and crowded that, you're trying to absorb, you're trying to tweet a little bit, you're trying to take notes at the same time. And but I would recommend going back and watching that. That was a great talk.
And who was that?
His name's McDonnell, I think. Graham McDonnell, I believe. He's the director of the branded content studio. I'm not sure exactly what the technical term that they use at the New York Times, but it's not the news side, it's the branded content side.
Okay. Because now I'm curious. Let's see. And tell me again what the name of the event was.
It's Web Summit. I think it's Graham
I think I found him.
Donald.
This is what happens, guys, when there's no back end. If you weren't sure, Gail is the front end and the back end of this endeavor, because there's only 3 of us running around. And if one of us is on, the other 2 are probably working or sleeping.
Right. No, he's not there's a professional golfer with a name close to that, because I just Googled it and that came up first. But he comes up like this international creative director at the New York Times.
Okay.
Is his title.
I was just looking to see if I could find him on the site.
He helps create advertising inspired by the Times' legacy of premium reader experiences, evolving them to the next generation of digital platforms.
Ooh.
And then it goes on. He's impressive bio.
I like it. Okay. All right. I'll have to find the talk.
So yeah, that would be my biggest takeaway in terms of the content of the conference.
Was there use that word takeaway again. Was there something from an organizational side, like that was like really high touch, or you felt like you were in a part of a really cool community? Was there anything that happened in that realm of things?
Well, I live streamed with 3 people that one I had met in person before, and then 2 others that I knew of through live streaming. One I had on my show a couple of years ago, and one that I had watched shows in which he was hosting. So I did 3 live streams that, people I could have had on probably on a show that I was hosting from home, but
Yeah.
there's something special about doing it not only on the road and in person, but in a foreign country at a big event. And I just thought that the conversations were not only a lot of fun, but there was a lot of good information in all 3 of them. And I created my first IGTV series from them.
Yay!
So you can watch it's Ross Brand 1 on Instagram. That is an IGTV series. So there's 3 segments or 3 episodes from Web Summit, each with a different guest. And then I put one on YouTube so far, and I'll put the others on YouTube eventually. But I thought, why not? IGTV is trying out these series. Let's give it a shot.
I'll throw that in there too.
Cool.
Let's see.
And I don't know whether a series has an actual link to the series. I was trying to
know
look
either.
for that, or whether you just link to one video and then they find the rest.
I don't know. I just put in your link for Instagram and just said to go. Oh, wait, maybe. Ha. Here's the actual channel. And let's see. It's so funny though. It's weird when the comments don't work. Anyways, live streaming. It's like there's 400 things happening and one didn't work.
So we're live on Periscope and Twitter, right?
And YouTube.
What's the Twitter handle?
Twitter handle is hold on. Gail knows this.
I'm doing all the back end stuff right here on camera.
I'm pretty sure it's TE Hotline.
Oh, okay.
Which,
TE Hotline.
Trying to get
There we go. Okay.
We were going through and trying to grab everything. Like everything got grabbed like on Thursday.
Right.
Of last week. So pulling all of it together so that there's me looking. Oh, I love that there's a delay. It's so weird. Live streaming so weird. It's like, wait, I just did that. It's like deja vu. Oh my gosh, and now there's 3 of me. Anyways, so if you're just joining us, I'm Gail, and I'm hanging out with Ross Brand from Livestream Universe, and we're having our first on screen conversation we've had, and I feel like an extremely long time. Considering we used to hang out all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Blab was just like you go in and all of a sudden you're in one of the squares or one of the whatever you call them, one of the Brady Bunch tic-tac-toe things. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're chatting with someone, and then you go over and watch some other show and that one ends, and next thing you know, you're both invited into the squares, and the conversation kind of continues.
Yeah, and it was like I loved it the way I've tried to explain it to people now that because there's nothing else that is really close to that. So what I was hoping we could create, and I think I've done okay of a job with some of my live streams I've done using StreamYard, is that it's like you can walk into someone's living room. Like, right. Ross isn't, preaching. I'm not preaching. We're not like having very strict Q&A. I'm asking some questions, but it's really more of a conversation. It's a flow of things. We end up covering a lot of stuff. So, going through the transcript really sucks. But trying to make written content out of this is gonna be terrible. Sorry, Lori. But yeah, so what we're hoping for is that we'd have a just hold space for people who are working, for themselves, by themselves, probably in their basements like me. There's paneling behind my pretty curtain. And just having a moment where we
my
probably
designer didn't make it in today.
I'm not at the office today, or oh man. But yeah, so
we could do a really focused 15 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes where we stay on serious topic, and then you take that as the transcript part, and you just so you have 20 minutes where you don't have to edit too much.
Yeah, well, I feel so I try to do that. That's why so I'll pause and think And like then I'll ask a question, but really what I'm doing is going, all right, Gail, this is where there's going to be a pause in the audio. And so when you go to cut, you can just go boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Because I'm doing the audio and the video editing too.
Right.
But yeah, so what so let's get serious. Are you ready?
Okay.
Right, serious hats.
Okay. For the transcript, for the
Ready?
podcast, if there is one. Repurposing on social. Here we go. We're serious broadcasters now.
Very serious. We're so serious.
Back to you, Gail.
What?
Back to you, Gail.
What's the
like the network news?
What's the and what? Gosh, I'm not gonna come up with the name. What is it? Back to you. What's the guy's name? There's a bit about that. There's a whole bit about throwing things back to the. I'm not gonna come up with the person's name. Oh well, it'll come to me later. 2 live streams from now.
Right.
So, all right. So actual seriousness. I do actually want to ask about gear because like sure. I'm starting to have questions now because I've like I started with going back Entrepreneur 101 and Video 101, like just starting in audio in the beginning. I I bought I had one microphone, like it was like on a headset, like it was, it was okay. It worked. Like that's what I used in like 2013, 2014. And then at some point, I think when I started on Blab, actually, I was like, ooh, like I didn't know how bad this was.
Okay.
So it wasn't until I was like on these video platforms, I was like, oh man, like I need a new webcam. So like then I upgraded. And then at some point I upgraded again. And then I think I'm on like my 4th upgrade. So to, entrepreneurs that are watching, if you're watching this, like Ross has a really wicked setup. You can't see mine. I have a pretty wicked setup. But you don't start here. I didn't start here. Ross didn't start here. You have to start somewhere. So, do you have a start somewhere list?
I do. I recommend getting the Samson Q2U.
Okay.
A USB microphone. It also comes with an XLR cable. So if you want to plug it into a mixer as you grow, or you want to plug it into a live soundboard or any type of professional equipment, you can. But it's great to get started as a USB mic. You can also take it with you as a handheld mic if you have some type of recorder to plug it into, or you're going live with an adapter into your phone. But primarily you're getting it because it's very easy to get started. You don't need a mixer. You don't need an audio interface. You plug it into your USB port of your computer and you're ready to go. And it sounds good. It doesn't pick up a lot of noise. So you don't have to worry about the fact that you're not in some sort of soundproof studio. It's a dynamic mic. Dynamic mics are known for rejecting noise, and it rejects noise from behind the microphone. So if your computer fan goes or you're using your keyboard, it should not pick up a lot of that noise. And that's, it's just got a nice sound for that price point because it's about a $50 microphone. It comes with a little foam windscreen to put over, which will take away a little of the sound from your breathing. And it comes with a stand that I wouldn't recommend using. You can get a very inexpensive version of this, which I had a boom arm that I think was $12 or $13.
Yeah.
That will hold up. That's a light microphone. Like I got a heavy microphone now, so I needed to get a more expensive, sturdy or one. But you can get the one from a company called Newer that's about $12 to $13. Put your little dynamic USB mic on there. Let me see if I have the mic handy.
I'm pretty sure I have the Newer, and then I think I have an Audio Technica microphone.
Okay. Like the ATR 2100 or
yes, that is exactly what I have.
And it's the mic that I'm describing and the mic that you have are so similar.
Yeah.
In terms of quality, in terms of the purpose you would get them, in terms of how you would support them, in terms of that they both come with kind of crappy stands, although I think Samson comes with a little bit nicer stand.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, I like the Samson better for my voice. It's just a personal thing. The Samson's a little warmer and a little just a little bit louder to me. But either one's fine. They're entry level microphones, and there are people who've been doing this for years who sound incredible, and they use one of those two microphones. So the Samson Q2U is the one I went with. The one Gail uses is more well known in the podcasting, live streaming industry. It's the ATR Audio Technica ATR 2100. Or there's another one that company makes that's very similar to these two.
Yeah.
And, so that's where I would start. Because then you start and you can focus on your content. You don't have to focus on researching and spending money and setting up gear. And if you decide in a few months, this really isn't for me or whatever, you don't have to feel bad about, wow, I invested all this money and now, and your content in the beginning probably won't be that good. So why, it's like if you like playing tennis, maybe you don't want to play your first match on center court at Wimbledon, right? Even if nobody's there, you're going to come out in this big, majestic place and you're going to hit the ball off your foot and whatever. So same thing, right? You want to do your first on some humble gear, and then as your content gets better and it warrants it, then you can spend a little money to bring it up. So I started with that mic that I recommended, and after a year and a half or so, that's when I upgraded my setup. But you could even stay with that setup, and you could stay with it for years, and you could make stuff that, there are people using no mic, they're using just earbuds, and they're making money with their content. So the other thing I would say is an external webcam makes a big difference. Now, I waited a while to get an external webcam. I thought, this is so great. I just opened my computer and there. Well, an external webcam like a Logitech C920 or 922X, those are going to be between $50 and $100, I think. It makes a big difference. And again, the webcam, you just plug in USB, so you don't need any other gear for it. And that's going to make a big difference, particularly if you have some lighting, because in low light, the webcam won't look very good. But if you have some lighting, it can look really good. I mean, it can look almost good enough that people could think you were using a DSLR or mirrorless camera. Yeah,
which I did end up buying. I bought a DSLR.
Did you?
I did. Not to use in this setup, because my external webcam is just fine. But I wanted it to, I was tired of recording pre-recorded content using Zoom.
Right.
So because actually I have a question for you. So you're on a PC, right?
I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac. Okay. Then you probably don't have this problem. If you're on a PC, just as a sidebar, and you have a Logitech webcam, external webcam, and you're using Logic Capture.
Right.
When I would go to, if I used Logic Capture to record a video, and then I went to actually edit the video, there was a disconnect. So there's a delay between the audio and the video.
Oh, that's not good.
So no, and I don't know what it is. It seems it's not the webcam. It's literally the software. So I keep hoping that
what is Logic Capture?
Logic Capture is just the driver that you can download for Logitech.
It's just for recording. You record into it, or
so it's like it's like a native thing, like a software on the computer that you would just use to record things. But it was neat because you could add a color border, you could brand it a little bit. But and the sound was bad, even though same microphone, I could record the same video in a Zoom thing, and then I would record it in Logic Capture, and the sound would be bad.
You were using Zoom so that you would get the audio video recording and could get it right in your computer, and it was decent quality.
Right? So, which is why I ended up, I just ended up getting the DSLR to have better quality. But just as a side note, if you have the Logitech and you've noticed something weird with your Logic Capture, if you're using that to record videos, that is what's wrong. So that's your PSA for the day.
So what would you record into now? Just record right into the camera, or would you record into the?
So that was the camera software.
Oh, okay.
To record into the camera, which was the kicker. It was like, why did we bother? But so what I've been doing, if I'm recording on the computer, I've been using Loom because
Heard of
you can
that.
record as camera only. And then I still use Zoom periodically if I want the audio split and I don't have time to go into Premiere Pro and split things.
Oh, look at you, fancy with Premiere Pro.
I'm so fancy. Oh yeah, I had to figure it out.
Now you could record into Premiere Pro, couldn't you?
Really? Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. And actually, it's funny. So I've actually considered getting an iPhone,
But
and I'm not an
you
Apple
might
at
have
all.
a very high quality recording solution right there. I mean, I would think you could turn on Premiere Pro and record. Now, I don't know that you can record a live stream in.
No, I don't think you
while
can do
you're
a live
live.
stream.
But
But
if you wanted to record, do like a YouTube video or do, record a segment or whatever, yeah, I think you could I could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm
I
not
have to
all
look it up.
fancy like that.
I'm one of those people that like I'm an accidental video editor and an accidental audio editor. Like,
Wow, I am so impressed though. Premiere Pro is not easy, right? I mean,
no, there was definitely a learning curve. I've gotten a lot faster. So like that's what I've been using this whole week. And it's not sponsored by Adobe, so I'm not getting paid to say this, and I pay for it. But I just need everyone to know is they're not sponsored. But yeah, so it's not hard now. Like now that you kind of get it, and I think for people, the other thing is like I learned Adobe Illustrator much faster than I have not learned Adobe Photoshop. I can muddle around in Photoshop, but like I feel like I can actually use Illustrator, but I still don't know Illustrator. So like I use Premiere Pro. I don't think I know Premiere Pro, and I certainly wouldn't be like, I can show you how to do this. Like I'm like a laser. If I have a specific thing, a specific need, I go to YouTube or I go to the Google and type in this is what I specifically need to do in Premiere Pro, and then find the person who can tell me that thing, and then I know how to do that thing.
As soon as you learn that thing, you stop watching the video.
I stop watching the video
to that point.
So I don't like InDesign. I can use Adobe InDesign, but I don't know it. Hey Tommy, thanks for announcing that you're a troll. That's fantabulous. I will keep an eye on you.
Best hello ever.
That was like really, really respectful. I'm not sure what to do with that information.
That's very funny.
Where were we going? Oh, we were talking about editing and stuff. Yeah. So you don't do editing?
I use ScreenFlow, which is a Mac. It's from the people who make Wirecast Telestream.
Okay.
And it's a lot like Camtasia.
Yeah.
That's Camtasia's for PC primarily, although they do have a Mac version, and ScreenFlow. So it's supposed to be for screencasting and screen recording.
Okay.
But you can use it to do editing of a video. Like you could download this video from StreamYard or from Facebook and put it right into ScreenFlow. It's just fast and it's more precise. Like when you cut something in iMovie, you'll get like a little bit of, if you try and put a transition in, you get a little bit of the sound that like you thought you cut out or what.
Yes.
So it's much more precise than but it's user friendly. I like it. I like it a lot. I use it for everything. I even use it to edit audio. I do my podcasts in there.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. Tommy asked a question, and it was a real question. He says he's trying to learn Blender to make animations for his stream at his church. Do you know what Blender is?
I don't know Blender.
I don't know Blender either. So, Tommy, what I will tell you about things that are available to churches and congregations is that there are companies that specifically make platforms and programs and content banks just for churches and congregations because your needs are so unique. There's a whole industry just for that. So my suggestion would be to go to YouTube and type in how to use Blender or how to use Blender for church. And you will probably find a treasure trove of people who are way more knowledgeable than Ross or I in that department. But I do know that there are very congregations and churches have access to some really cool content things. And I know this because I did some work with a local church, and they wanted something. What were we trying to do? The problem we were trying to solve is that we were trying to figure out how to use Facebook better and how to use their website. And they had access to like all these things for like free and stuff. And they were trying to figure out how to use those things better. So what I found out in that investigation process and research was that churches have access to so many free resources. So I would maybe start with that kind of search as free resources for churches and go there.
Yeah, church streaming is a big thing in live streaming. I never realized how big it was until, well, I didn't really know what live streaming was in the first place until I started. But once I started, I found out pretty quickly that, you know, churches are a really big market for live streaming.
Yeah, massive market for live streaming. And for podcasting.
Yeah.
So huge thing for podcasting. So I know there's free podcasting platforms that are just for churches that'll integrate with websites and all sorts of crazy things.
You usually see on any sort of live streaming hardware, software, you'll see like, okay, used for live sports, used for church streaming, used for, you know, like the few different common uses of live streams and religious streams are always like amongst one of the main use cases.
Yeah. Oh, Tommy, we definitely understand having no budget. I get that. I'm in that camp too. I'm starting to get a budget though, which is exciting. So that's been neat. The last year I've been able to have a little bit of a budget.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like we've run all over the place. If anyone has any questions on gear or software things or whatever to do with live streaming video, feel free to put them in the chat. Ross knows an incredible amount of things, as do I.
Right.
And yeah, so put them in chat. And thank you for joining. I'm very excited to see people.
Yeah. And so with getting started again, it's an inexpensive dynamic microphone like a Q2U from Samson or an ATR 2100. It's a inexpensive boom arm that's just good enough to hold up that mic that you get. And it's perhaps an external webcam, Logitech C920, C922, something in the $50 to $100 range. If you have those few elements, you pretty much have everything you need to go live. Obviously, if you're doing this kind of setup, a computer is necessary and internet access. I don't know if it's even necessary to mention that at this point. The other thing is, if you're doing any type of thing where you're doing interviews or have a guest on or a co-host, you want to have some type of headphones or earbuds or a system set up. I know some people listen through monitors and they know how to adjust the sound and their mic and do all that stuff. But if you really, in the beginning, you probably won't get that right. So I definitely recommend either wearing headphones like the traditional ones like I wear, or your earbuds will probably do the job as well. But something like that, so the sound doesn't come out of your computer or speakers and then go back through your microphone, and there's going to be echoing and it'll sound rather unpleasant to both your guest and to the people listening.
So one thing I wanted to I was just listening to you explain things, and like, right. I now know what all of those words mean. But like I remember like the first, when you really started getting into the gear stuff a couple years ago and the live streaming, and I remember listening to some of your videos going, I have no idea what's going on, and like, I'm an intelligent person.
I think I've gotten clearer in explaining it too.
Oh yeah, no. It isn't that you aren't clear. Like, there's just a whole vocabulary of right. live streaming and audio and video stuff. So one thing that I was very confused on for the first probably 2 years, and caused me to invest in things that I didn't need, and then found out later were bad for what right. I did. It was a bad tool for the application. Can you just explain a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone?
Okay. So a dynamic microphone, such as this one, which is the Shure SM7B, which you're going to find in a lot of radio stations in the United States, along with another microphone called an Electro Voice RE20. These are like the two industry standard broadcast dynamic mics. And the reason radio stations use dynamic mics, at least in the US, with some exceptions, but primarily they use dynamic mics, is because they reject noise. And particularly in these type of mics, they have a cardioid pattern, which means they will pick up only what's in front of the microphone, primarily. And so if you get away from the microphone, all of a sudden you don't sound all that good, right? A condenser mic will be extremely sensitive to sound. And so a lot of people will take a condenser and they'll put it on way out of the picture, and they'll just think that's great. And if they need to, they'll crank up the gain, which is the level of volume that's coming into your mixer or your computer, and they'll feel like, okay, this is great. I'm not on camera. I sound good. Except that when you have a condenser mic, because it's sensitive to your voice and may give you a richer sound than a dynamic mic, it will also pick up every other little sound in your environment because it's sensitive. So the reason why a radio station would use dynamic mics is because if I have, I'm looking at the news and somebody hands me something and I'm doing this, you don't really hear it through a dynamic mic, but through a condenser, every little breath would be picked up. If you're in a studio, even if it's soundproof, it's probably set up so that several guests can sit at other microphones. And again, if you were using condensers, for the most part, somebody who's very technical would say there's ways to do and all, but in general, the reason you want to use a dynamic mic is because you aren't in a soundproof room, you aren't in a booth or a studio that's really set up for that. So, that's I guess the best way I can explain it. And unfortunately, a lot of the microphones that are marketed to live streamers and podcasters getting started are condenser microphones, and that may be good for certain musicians. It may be good if you want to put one down in the middle of the table and everybody sit around the table and use that one microphone, and you can sound good with those. But the dynamic microphone for most people is the right microphone to use in this type of situation.
So the reason I thought it was important that we clarify that is that I had condenser mics for a long time because I misunderstood the tech explanation. Like, I asked someone to explain it to me, and then when they were explaining it to me, they made a recommendation, and I don't remember who it was, and it doesn't matter. But I didn't understand what it would mean when I got a condenser mic. And so I had a blue Snowball for the longest time, and like had no idea. And then at some point, I don't remember when I figured it out.
Right.
But that is when I got the Audio-Technica one. Just because there's kids running around, and I know that the Audio-Technica, this one, what is it? The the things off the top.
ATR 2100, yeah.
There you go, ATR 2100, picks up my tower. So if right now my tower is thinking really hard. So, for my computer, so I have I have this around it, which is it's supposed to be on a stand thing. It's for a music studio.
Right.
But I just flipped this bad boy over and put it around it to try and keep the tower from talking into the microphone, because people were like, what is that humming?
Right.
I'm like, it's just my computer, guys. And for people who are just starting, who want something that's kind of like a soundproof studio, but not quite, but it takes out, if you've already bought a condenser mic and you're like, I don't have $50 more to try something else. No problem. I got you covered. Ready for this? This is what I did for the 2 years I had this microphone. One moment, please, so we can do show and tell. So, I actually took, to remember to talk into the microphone, because of course now I have a dynamic microphone.
See, if you had that condenser, you could walk around you could go next door. You could probably go to another county and it would pick you up.
So I actually, it's a baby wipe box.
Okay.
So I had a baby wipe from Baby Wipe box from Sam's Club or something, and I took a fleece blanket that I got from Walmart for $2. and I folded this bad boy up, and then I stapled it. And I just took my stapler and I stapled it in, and it was crazy. Like, so I had this condenser mic that, you know, it sounded great
Right.
with this around it. And so that worked for a really long time. And I think when I bought it initially, because someone said it was good for music. So if you were playing guitar and you were trying to, you know, you couldn't get as close to the microphone, or like if you had more people, I don't know. Anyways, that's
you know, the Blue Snowball is a very good microphone if you're in a conference room and you're doing a conference call type of broadcast where you're not going to go around and buy mics and boom arms for everybody or mic stands. You just need people to be able to hear you and not sound totally unpleasant. And you can deal with people aren't listening to it like it's a radio show or a TV show or something like that. They just need to get that information to the people on the other side. It's a great mic for that. If people have the Blue Yeti, which a lot of people end up buying because it looks cool and it looks like a microphone, and it gets good reviews and whatever, there are settings in the Blue Yeti, and if you set it a certain way into cardioid pattern, not into omnidirectional pattern, by cardioid it'll only pick up in front of the mic, and you realize that it's a top address microphone, or side address, so you need to talk into the side of that microphone. See, generally condensers, you talk into the side of the microphone, or they hang down like this, and dynamics, you talk into the front of the microphone. And if you do those things, then you're ahead of probably 90% of the people using the Yeti. And if you keep it fairly close to yourself and don't turn the gain way up, then you won't get all the unpleasant sound. So you can use a Yeti and get very good sound. It's not that the mic is bad mic. It's the wrong mic for this. But if you set it right, it can be decent, right? It can actually perform very well. There are some people. You remember Jonathan Tripp?
I do.
Right. Yeah. He was one of the people who really sounded good with a Yeti.
He did.
He knew how to use it, and he knew what setting to put it on, where to position it. But like Tommy says, he has a Yeti and it picks up desktop noise, because a lot of people put it on their desk because it's heavy, right? Yeah. But they want it out of the picture, so they turn up the gain, and then they start typing on their keyboard or moving their hand around. And instead of getting this little faint sound like you'd be hearing right now, you're getting this, you know, like music bed of keyboard type. You know, it's just really harsh. So. Yes.
Which, of course, you know, my videos are punctuated with some typing and the tower talking to me. Right. So I have daydreams. Like someday there's going to be something like from the ceiling and like, you know, whatever. But I'm in my basement and there's small humans.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
There's going to be noise, even if you have the right mic and the right setup. We have too many things going on here for there not. We're multitasking far too much for there not to be some noise here and there. But you want the majority of the broadcast to be as listenable and pleasant an experience for who's ever watching or listening than as you can. So that's why you would use the right kind of mic. And the right kind of mic in this case for people getting started is less expensive than the wrong kind of mic. So you can get the right kind of mic for $50 to $60, or you can get the wrong kind of mic for double to triple that amount.
Right? Yeah, we're trying to save you money, people. That's all.
Right.
So we have made it to the top of the hour, my friend.
Very nice.
I know. It was wonderful. So do you have any parting things you'd like to share? Parting shots, singers?
You had asked me about a giveaway. Do you want me to do that, or?
I did. Go for it.
Yeah, and you don't have to sign in to get it. I'm just going to type in the link myself to make sure that it's still at the link where I left.
Yeah, if it's not there, I have to go update something. So.
Yeah, no, I checked. I just need to remember it for myself. I don't have it front and center. I think it was interviewing. Yeah. Okay, so if you go to livestreamuniverse.com/interviewing, you don't have to enter your email address even. You don't have to do anything. But there's an unpublished piece there that talks about the 7 types of interviews to grow your business, and it takes you through each of the different types of interviews and how it can help you grow your audience, grow your business, make money. And I start out with a few reasons why interviewing is beneficial for live streamers and podcasters, but then it really goes into all the different kinds of interviews you can do.
Very cool. So where did you stick it?
It's livestreamuniverse.com/interviewing.
Right. I knew that. Hold on. One moment, please.
He says, of course, Ross has gazillions of dollars.
I know. I was like, okay, now we're like getting into troll territory. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that. I have also been told that. So if you like the sound of my voice, as creepy as that sounds, you can go. There's 2 podcasts that get updated. One is getting updated almost daily, and one is weekly. So
cool.
Gosh.
What are your podcasts about?
So right now they are legacy driven.
Mm-hmm.
So one is what's the word I'm looking for? One is Legacy After Dark, and you can find that on Anchor and Apple and a whole bunch of other places. And that is pretty much like it's a weekly podcast. So it's like it might be a live stream I did. It might be talking about a blog post or something that happened. So that's kind of like more spur of the moment content versus like planned content. And then the other one is 5-minute storytelling, and which is also a Legacy Recorder podcast, and that is updated daily. Those are about a minute long or less, and it's how to they're either pre-done scripts, so I actually talk through the script in the podcast, or it's a topic suggestion, and then how to start a 5-minute storytelling conversation with someone that day on that topic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Are you putting it on smart speakers? Are you putting it on like Amazon Alexa? Or
so both of those are actually enabled on Alexa as well. So there's skills that get updated, and I'm all fancy and dancy.
Are they like can you get it as a flash briefing, or you get it as its own skill separate from the flash briefing?
They're both flash ones. Okay, so 5-minute storytelling is definitely a flash briefing.
Okay.
And I believe the podcast is also the weekly one is also a flash briefing.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to add them.
Yeah, they're good. They're fun. Yeah. Thanks for asking. And
thanks for having me on. We'll continue the conversation offline, but this was fun. Thanks so much.
So thank you everyone for joining us. We have a really action-packed afternoon for you. This is the last full day of the Entrepreneur Hotline, and any content you see after probably 7 p.m. Eastern tonight will be replays of everything we created today. So today, day 4 for us started at 8 a.m. Central European time. So tomorrow is our last day. We are like doing a quote unquote half day. At least it'll feel like a half day to me. We'll finish up at 6 p.m. Central European time and 12 p.m. Eastern. So for everyone who's hung out with us all week and has been catching replays and commenting, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have enjoyed our celebration of entrepreneurship. So with that, have a wonderful, beautiful day, and I will see you soon.
Thanks, Gail.